Hello and welcome to an exclusive interview series with ET Edge Insights. Today we have with us Mr. Rahul Gupta. He is the CEO and Board of Director of Avanti Finance. Mr. Gupta, thank you for taking the time out and speaking to ET Edge Insights. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you, Tanmay. Thanks for doing this. It's my pleasure.
Before we get into the questions, I just wanted to understand if what exactly does Avanti Finance do? If you can just give us a brief about your organization.
Sure. So Avanti Finance is a digitally powered financial inclusion platform
Right.
that we are building for population scale. The primary product that we offer currently is small ticket loans for income generation. We have served about 650,000 households, mainly from low-income communities.
Right.
90% of our borrowers are women, and they are scattered across 25,000 villages in India. So what we're really trying to solve, and which is the genesis of the company, is the fact that there are about 80 million to 100 million households in India,
Right.
which are either totally unserved or underserved by formal financial services. And our vision is to make affordable financial services accessible in a timely manner to the next 100 million.
Right. Right. Interesting. Mr. Gupta, we will talk about leadership development and leadership essentials in today's fast-paced business landscape. Leaders are very, very important, as you're aware of the thing. So, what are these effective must-dos for a leader to ensure that he or she creates that template so that everything is streamlined for their organization? And in the case of Avanti Finance, if you can just elaborate on this.
Sure. So perhaps I'll share my views.
Right.
And reflect upon my own learnings. Large part of my career was with very reputed multinational organizations, and the last 5.5 years has been with Avanti Finance, which is a startup. So whilst there are leadership qualities which resonate in any environment, I'd also take this opportunity to share what I think are particularly important qualities in a startup. So one, I think if you really look at a company which is a new age company, which you're just starting up, there isn't a notion of doing a job. People gather together, the founders, the leadership team, the people that you hire, the team that you build. It's all a mission in terms of what you're trying to solve, your self-belief in how you're going to do it, and the ability to be patient with enormous amount of dedication and hard work to get it done.
Right.
You also need to have people, again, in the context of a startup, you need to have a mix of people with diverse backgrounds. That sort of unidimensional thinking doesn't work. And if we look at how Avanti has progressed, it's largely because of the diversity of the team. So if you look at sort of the leadership team of Avanti, a couple of us are from financial services. One of our leaders is a global technologist. One is an ex-investment banker. The other has enormous experience in leadership consulting.
Right.
I think that diversity that brings about really sort of helps in building forth a strategy and creating a culture in an organization which is open, transparent, and one which breeds innovation.
Right. Very interestingly, you said about the culture that breeds innovation with all the stakeholders involved. But while building a culture of innovation, especially in a startup landscape, organizations are a little bit cautious about like the daily operations which happen and whatever the organization's mission is, like you've explained. Has innovation cultivated a culture of maybe deviating from your daily operations, doing something different, while maybe organization goals are also not met by the getting into an innovative approach? So is it beneficial while there are negative aspects also to it? So how do you balance innovation, keeping in mind the organization goals are met and also the team falls in place?
Sure. So innovation is important in any organization.
Right.
Innovation helps you move ahead. Innovation helps you solve for things on which your business case is actually built upon.
Right.
So you can't stagnate. You can't be running on a treadmill. And therefore you have to innovate.
Right.
Now, if you look at a startup environment, it's all about innovation anyway. Every startup has some idea which is either completely unique or it is trying to solve an existing problem which others are also trying to solve with its own methodology.
Right.
If you look at Avanti, the problem that we're trying to solve of accelerating financial inclusion or bridging the gap for the people who have been hitherto left behind by formal financial services is not a new problem.
Right.
How we are trying to solve it is unique and transformational in our opinion. So we have a business model which is paperless, presenceless, cashless. We're trying to leverage the power of a deep tech platform combined with networks that are very close to the communities who are our target segment.
Right.
Now, that's kind of the jugalbandi that we're trying to create, which is different from what others have done.
Right.
So culture is ingrained in us. Innovation is ingrained in us. Now, in order to keep the sort of balance of being responsible, profitability,
Correct.
not veering too far from the course that you set for yourself, I would say there are certain guardrails, if you may, where for us, innovation is linked to the problem that we're trying to solve for the people we're trying to solve with.
Right.
And therefore, that's a constant journey. And therefore, culturally, you have to have the latitude to allow for failure, easier said than done. And I do not mean it in a cliched sense. You have to allow for room for failure. Otherwise, innovation will not happen.
Very pertinent point.
Right. And the other thing is you have to fund innovation. You have to put your money where your mouth is.
Right.
So there is a structural part of innovation where linked to your short-term goals and your long-term goals, you're actually putting investment capital aside or your risk capital aside to fund innovation. Now, some things will work, some things will not, but you get better at it as time goes on.
Right.
Right? And in fact, there has to be a very, very strong bias for action. Better to try and do something than not do anything at all. So innovation, at least for us, is in our DNA. And I must say, today, if you look at our country, it's amazing the amount of innovation that is happening.
Right. Absolutely.
Across different fields.
Yes.
And, speaking about the sort of new topical subject of AI, India has become a real sort of hotbed for innovation and use cases in that space.
Right. So, since you have touched upon AI, one quick question: how does it serve your organization, especially the financial sector?
So, in our organization, I would still say that we're at sort of early stages.
Right.
Large language models, etc., take time to evolve in financial services. There are elements of AI that we're already using in our underwriting, in our overall risk management, etc. In India, if you really want to unleash the power of AI at population scale, then the innovation that is happening around voice, that is what is really going to change the game.
Right.
And if you voice is intuitive.
True.
Right? Filling documents and forms is not. And if you can leverage voice authentication, voice interpretation, etc., as part of the AI journey, then you're really making it available to the 1.4 billion Indians
Right.
And that's where innovation at scale in AI in India is going to be ripe.
Right, right. You have talked about leadership skills and taking calculated risk, especially in a startup landscape. But while everything is in motion, you as the leader, the person who takes decision, it's a very tough thing to do. So how do you keep yourself going, and what are some of the common things you keep in mind while you are in the process of putting processes in place?
Yeah. So speaking again for Avanti, see, we're born out of a very bold vision, to make financial services affordable
Right.
and accessible to the 80 to 100 million people who have hitherto not been served well. So for us, innovation is ingrained in us. And I'm very fortunate that it's not that I have to take every decision in the organization. We're a group of people, the senior leadership team,
Right.
each one of whom is very seasoned. We operate like co-founders of the company. The board and the investors put a lot of trust in us.
Right.
And we in turn have built an organization of another 95 people or so, which are very mission aligned to what we are doing.
Right.
So it's kind of a collective effort that we are upon. And we made some great progress, but there's still a long journey to accomplish.
Right. On that note, Mr. Gupta, thank you very much for your valuable time. You have been doing a wonderful work. I wish you all the best for your mission-oriented projects, and I'm sure you're going to go a long way. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for your best wishes. We do need it.
Right.
We're doing something unique and transformational.
Right.
We're quite encouraged by where we've come,
Right.
but it still feels like day zero.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.